So joining us to unpack the increasing complexities of the chieftaincy matters is, of course, a lawyer and legal practitioner, Johnson Omede. You're welcome, Johnson. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, great. Now, Johnson, first off, let's talk about what the court has just done. It's ordered the state government, actually. They've been fined 10 million naira. I'm very curious as to exactly what the impact of this fine would be, and also what the case would be for the current situation between the emirs, one deposed and the other one reinstated. So tell us exactly what this means or portends.
Thank you very much. The case that led to the fine was a judgment released by Honorable Justice S.A. Amobeda. The applicant in that case was the 15th Emir, His Royal Highness Alhaji Ado Bayero. That application essentially borders on the breach of rights that he purports to have. Now the court has declared that he has, which is a right to liberty and a right to a freedom for liberty. Now, there is nothing on the face of that application that touches on the issue of the emirate, emirship, appointment, or removal of emir. That case is stricto sensu an enforcement of right in law that the formal emir or the 14th emir has, the 15th emir has. So it has nothing to do with the issue of emir, emirship, appointment, or removal. Now, the court, Federal High Court, under the application that was brought, pursuant to the provision of the Constitution and the Fundamental Enforcement Procedure Rule, held that you cannot, by an order, howsoever constituted, disallow anybody from enjoying his right to liberty. And this came as a consequence of the order made by the governor, directing the security agencies to arrest and detain the 14th emir, the 15th emir, I mean, and he went to court to push for his right. The court, in deciding in his favor, fined the governor and some of the agencies that were involved there 10 million naira fine for violating his right or about to violate his right, as it were. And so it has nothing to do with the emirate. The fine, of course, must be paid. It's an order of court and it must be obeyed. However, the parties in those suits, particularly the respondent, the federal government was joined using the office of the Attorney General. The state Attorney General was part of it. And then all of the security agencies up to Navy were respondents in that suit.
But Johnson,
what the court, yes.
Now the case is that, first off, there wasn't an arrest. So how come the state has been imposed with this 10 million naira fine if they didn't succeed in arresting him in the first place? And then another question is, when exactly did Ado Bayero file this motion against his human or for his rights?
Okay, so what happened was the governor gave a directive that Ado Bayero be arrested and detained. There was a directive from the governor of the state on this matter. Ado Bayero, having listened to that directive, went for his fundamental right. Now, fundamental right action can come as a result of threatening bridges. That breach may not have occurred, but where there is a likelihood of threatening the right of anybody, once you perceive that a right is about to be breached, what you can do is that you are entitled to go to court and enforce your right, either to stop that breach or ask the court to reverse any breach that may have occasioned as a consequence of the action of another. When the governor gave that directive, his right to go to court and enforce his right to go to court to enforce his power or his protection under the Constitution was matured. So at the time he filed the suit was when the directive was given. So his suit was properly filed and was early in time.
So
I mean, let's look at this because we're a bit pressed for time now. The court have now fined the state government now to pay 10 million naira for violating its human rights. How do you foresee this playing out now that it's now in the federal High Court? How do you see this whole case playing out in the next couple of days or weeks to come?
Okay, on this issue of enforcement of right, at the level of the Federal High Court is conclusive. A judgment has been delivered. Parties in that suit, particularly the respondent, the second respondent, which is Kano State Government, represented by the Office of the Attorney General of the state, they have a right in law. Their first right in law is to exhaust their rights of appeal in that suit. Until that appeal is exhausted, assuming they elect to go on appeal, until the right of appeal is exhausted and the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court holds that, yes, a right was breached and the fine was consistent with what the Federal High Court has done, then the Kano State Government must proceed to pay Ado Bayero that 10 million. It's an order of court and parties must obey it. There's nothing anybody will do about it. But prior to that time, they have a right of appeal, both at the Court of Appeal and at the Supreme Court. And I want to believe they will want to exhaust their right in those channels.
Now, besides the 10 million naira fine that the government have received, are there any, legal implications or consequences, potential legal consequences that the Kano State government might face when it comes to the matter of breaching the 15th Emir's human rights?
No, there are no further consequences on this. Like I said earlier, if there were to be any consequences, the issue would have extended beyond just fundamental right. There is a substantive issue, which is the issue of dethronement and appointment. That issue not being part of what was submitted to the court for adjudication under the fundamental enforcement right does not fall under the decision that the court has taken. So it has no further impact outside the fact that the court has found that the right of the 15th Emir was breached, and as such, it was entitled to damage of which is 10 million. Anything outside of this holds no water, either in Kano State or anywhere in the world, and it has nothing to do with the emirship tussle or appointment, removal, howsoever constituted. What this has done essentially is that one person has a right to liberty and nobody can take that liberty from him, same having been guaranteed under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the highest law of the land, and the court has held as such. So now, I don't see any other consequences arising. Parties are expected to just obey the law and proceed.
Okay, but does the court order extend anywhere into the chieftaincy matters? Can the 14th, or rather, can the 15th Emir continue to parade himself as an Emir?
Thank you very much. So, as I had earlier said, the application submitted borders essentially on the enforcement of rights to liberty. There is nothing on the face of that application or on the judgment delivered by S.A. Amobeda, Honorable Justice S.A. Amobeda, touching on the issue of the emirate. It has nothing to do with who is the emir, who is not the emir. It has nothing to do whether the 16th emir is actually the emir of Kano or the 14th emir can continue to parade himself as emir of Kano. That judgment has nothing to do with the emirate tussle. It touches nothing on that. What that judgment did was the enforcement of right. And as such, what the Kano State Government has done under the power conferred on it by an act of legislature, removing and appointing, is consistent with record. The status quo remains that the 16th Emir remained the Emir, having been duly appointed under the law, enabling the governor to do so. So there is nothing in the face of the judgment just released as to whether the 15th Emir can continue to parade himself as Emir or not. As it is, the Emir of Kano as of today is the 16th Emir, His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. That is the Emir of Kano. So there's nothing on the face of that judgment that has said otherwise.
So now, so just to be clear, this is now a closed case. They don't have any more case. They would not be able to take Kano State Government up on the appointment of the 16th Emir. This matter is done.
No, no, no. The matter is not done. I will repeat again, permit me. The matter is not done. This particular issue deals with fundamental enforcement. If the 15th Emir feels that an injustice has occasioned as a consequence of his removal, he has the right in law to approach a competent court of jurisdiction to press home his demand. This case is not closed on the issue of the emirate, but as touching the issue of whether his right was breached or not, that case is closed, and the court has held that his right to liberty is guaranteed as provided under the Constitution. But as touching the emirate, if he feels that, look, you have done injustice to me by removing me as the 15th Emir of Kano, I will press on my demand by approaching a court of law that has jurisdiction to deal on issues that has to do with chieftaincy, either in Kano State. It can't even do this outside of Kano. The court in Kano must be the court to listen to this suit, particularly because issues of chieftaincy title over the period has been decided fully by the Supreme Court, that as touching matters of chieftaincy, only the court, state court, high court of a state has jurisdiction to decide on issue of chieftaincy matter. Federal High Court cannot have a power to do so, given its substantive jurisdiction provided under Section 251 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and all other enabling laws provided as the act of the Federal High Court and the rules. So
right,
Federal High
Mr.
Court
Johnson.
cannot decide on the issue of
Mr.
substantive
Johnson.
matter except the State High Court.
We are out of time, but first we want to say thank you very much for joining us to discuss this very crucial matter here. We understand better now what exactly is happening in Kano State, and we appreciate your presence here for this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.